This is Modern Mindset, the show that picks the brains of the world's leading minds to help you unlock yours. I'm your host, Adam Cox, and joining me today, we have a author and multiple business owner, Idan Shpizear. Welcome to the show.
Hi, great to be here. Thank you.
Great to have you on the show. Now, we spoke a little bit before we started recording, and you've gone on a bit of an adventure. You kind of made the decision relatively early on in life to kind of leave everything that you knew, this kind of rural, kind of different country. It sounds like an incredible adventure. Tell us a bit about your background and what led you to that decision to leave everything you knew and then start this new life over in the States.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Israel. I grew up in a small farm in the south part of Israel. My up to 18 years old, we grew up. Most of my day was out in the fields working with my parents and the other employees that we had. Overall, good experience as a kid. Being in the farm, barefoot most of the time. The only thing that I experienced is, a lot of up and downs financially. So my parents did well, and then we lost everything. Did okay, then we lost everything. So I kind of lived in this up and down mindset that everything is very hard and limited and all that. But open space, barefoot, room to explore as a kid. So that was great. Then I joined the Israeli army. But while as I left the farm to go to the Israeli army, we went through a very hard financial situation. So I used to leave the army for long weekends, go to work, and then help my parents kind of get back on their feet. And then as I finished the Israeli army, school was never, a fun thing for me. Very hard. I failed in most of the things in school. So going to college or university wasn't really an option. So, as I got out of the army, I worked as a bellboy and as a gardener for about 2 months. I saved enough money and I bought tickets here to the US. And I came here because, we heard that money grows on the trees. Everything is super easy. You come here to Los Angeles and, all the great parties and everything is beautiful. And I came here with a good friend, barely spoke the language. We landed here and just trying to figure out things. And
Well, I mean, they call it the land of opportunity, and I was fortunate enough. From the UK, but when I was 21 years old, my uncle had a business in Fort Lauderdale in Florida, so I went out and lived with him with a few months, and was kind of working in his catering company. And America for me, you see it in kind of like TV shows and movies, but I was experiencing it. It's the extremes of capitalism. You see, what can happen for people that take opportunities and work hard and solve problems. But I remember driving down the I-95 from Fort Lauderdale towards Miami. And
yeah,
on one side, you've got these incredible mansions with these kind of seafront houses. And then you've got almost like a shanty town made of kind of like metal, almost kind of like roofing parts of people in homelessness and poverty. And for me, that was weirdly attractive in a way because I like high stakes. I like this idea that if you figure things out and you work hard, then you get the benefits of that. But equally, I like it when there's no safety net. I don't know if it's a weird kind of psychology. Were you worried about the idea of potentially failing when you went over to the US?
I so I had nothing really to lose because the only thing that I had is about $1,000 and it's not like I have it's not like I spent so many years in school that I studied something, so I really had nothing to lose, and I just finished 2 years in the Israeli army. I've been in special unit, so the mindset was that I can make it happen. I can work hard enough, right? And I really nothing to lose. So the feeling was my family thought that, okay, Dan saying that he's going to go to America, he's probably going to be back here in a month, right? They didn't really, I always, I had a hard time with really, I was very closed off as a person. So, how Idan is going to do good in America. So he's probably going to come back home in a month. So I didn't want to go back home in a month, right? So because I wanted to build something in America, but there was not really the fear of failing, is just at one point, like, how are we going to eat a month from today?
Mm.
right? We just had our back was against the wall in such a, we really had nothing else, right? So we had to make it. So we rented a 1 bedroom apartment. We stayed with 4 other guys. Each one paid about $80 rent. We bought everything in a 99-cent store, right? So we made sure that our cost of living is very, very cheap. But yeah, there's not so much the fear of failing. It's more like we have to do everything that we can to make sure that we can stay in America and we can feed ourselves in 30 days, because this is really what we had.
Yeah, it's very short-term thinking, in the sense that you've got to solve the day-to-day problems, paying rent, making sure you eat, and the logistics. But I guess that means that it kind of focuses the mind. You've got to figure out, even if you're in this situation and you can eat and you've got a roof over your head, the goal isn't to survive, it's to kind of create something, to build something. So how did you move from that kind of making ends meet situation to actually being a business owner and an entrepreneur? Was that an easy pathway for you?
I think it was easy for me to think as I want to create something on my own. Because also when I grew up, when I have an opportunity, because I had to make money, I always find a way to, sell candies or sell shoes or whatever I can get my hands on, right? I will try to get it and I'll sell it to people in school, sell it to my friends, because my security was based on I need to make money, right? Because I didn't have it as a kid. So
Mm.
I was programmed in a way that I have to find a way. So working and cleaning carpet for about a year, that gave me the opportunity to really understand the culture, learn the language, see how things really work here in the US. And what got me to decide that I want to open my own business is really seeing what you mentioned earlier in the conversation is people are super focused just on making money. And that didn't sit well with me. So when I was out there cleaning carpet and I started seeing the restoration side of the business, the water damage, mold, and fire, when I didn't know anything about it, what I noticed is the companies don't really pay enough attention to the consumer.
Mm.
What about how he feels, right? When somebody go through a flood or a mold situation or his house is on fire, it's not just about getting in there, cleaning it out. That's just the physical damage. It's the emotional damage that the customer is going through. So I remember I'm sitting there in one of the experiences that I came in to clean carpet and I'm just charging $300-400. There's another company that's coming in that charging $10,000-20,000. And I'm spending more time with the client, really understanding his emotional mindset, like what's he's stressed, he's worried, like how can I help him go through that process? And that opened my eyes and I said, okay, I think I see an opportunity here, because for me, and this is where my own evolution started. Like I see people that make great money, but their life is pretty empty.
Mm.
I see people that give back and do well, and their life is full. They find fulfillment. And I said, okay, I want to connect them to. I want to make sure that I'm building a great business that's really focused on the consumer itself, that's really adding value, solving problem, but being obsessed with making sure that the consumer is part of the journey, not just getting out there and drying the house. And then I decided that I want to start opening something on my own. So that's what really triggered that journey.
Mm. I think that's a similar journey that a lot of successful business people go through. They're an employee, they're seeing it from the inside, and then they have this kind of idea of something's being missed here. It could be done in a better way.
Yeah,
And that creates the courage, the almost like a compelling feeling of, well, let me see if I can do it. And for you, obviously it's different because you already took that big risk to leave everything you knew, go to a new country. So it's only another risk. Again, what do you have to lose by setting up your own business? Because if it pays off, great. You're a business owner, you can scale, you can grow that. But if it doesn't, you can always go back to cleaning carpets for someone else anyway. And I think
yeah,
there's an interesting psychology that people believe that setting up a business requires so much courage. It's such a brave thing to do. And I was in my early 20s when I set up my PR agency. I still run this now. And everyone said, "Wow, you're so brave to do that." And I'm thinking, as a 23-year-old, I could mess things up completely
Exactly.
and start again and still walk away with more knowledge, more experience than I had to
Exactly.
begin with. Whereas for me, I consider it brave if someone leaves the security of a job, a corporate job that they've only ever known, and then in their 40s or 50s try and become an entrepreneur. That for me is true bravery. Doing it in your
Yeah.
20s, not that risky really, because whatever happens, you're going to learn and you can easily start again. Um,
Exactly.
what was the biggest challenge that you had from effectively becoming this one-man band? You've set this business up of your own. What was the biggest challenge that you had to kind of grow and scale that? Because you know, in a lot of business journeys, there's levels to the game. The game may be the same, but there's definite levels to that game. What was the biggest challenge that you had before you could evolve as a business owner?
So my biggest challenge is, so we were able to scale the company pretty fast. So when we started on our own, we averaged about $250,000 a year. And then we grew to $3 million a year in less than 2 years. The way we did it is, one of the nights I'm sitting in a restaurant and I'm hearing somebody talks about Google AdWords and how we advertise online. And I'm like, okay, and this was 2003 to 2004. So I went back home, I tried everything. I spent hours and hours and hours figuring things out. I put an ad up, and then every day my phone rang. So every day I got new clients. So we scaled the
Nice.
business pretty fast. Because most of my focus was always around strategy, marketing, sales, not so much the trade itself.
Mm,
So I always hire people to do the trade. I kept myself super focused on how do I scale this thing, right? But so my biggest challenge was at one point, and I noticed that once that's at one point, doesn't matter how hard I worked, I kept going back to making the same amount of money,
mm,
right? So I worked 3 times harder. My team grew so much bigger, but me myself as Idan, I kept going back to making the same amount of money, right? And so I tried different things and I went back, right? And I start watching my own behavior and it says, okay, I'm recognizing a pattern here, right? And what I woke up to is I'm living the same pattern that I experienced as a kid in my house. So I'm saying, okay, and I exhausted myself, right? 24/7, hiring more people, opening more businesses. Say, okay, I cannot do it in this business. I'm going to start another one. I cannot
hmm
do it in this business. I'm going to start another one. And what I seem like at one point, like it's a wake up call. I was partner in like 6 or 7 different businesses, invested in real estate, doing all the things that I'm doing, and I'm making the same amount of money. It was crazy. So I
mm,
said, okay, now this is the shift. And that took me on a crazy journey, a very hard journey, because I needed to face a lot of things internally. And that was, okay, I'm going to stop focusing on the outside world, because that is already a result of everything. I'm going to go now to a journey. I'm going to go internally. So this is where I start doing meditation, reading a lot of self-help book, going to seminars, sitting on, spending a day by myself, writing down my thoughts and what's going on. I'm trying to bring into light the patterns that I live in. It wasn't easy at all. It was because I need to face a lot of very hard limited beliefs, really a lot of relationships that I thought that are great. I recognize that they're just based on money. A lot of things that I thought that are super healthy in my life, they're not healthy in my life at all. I started seeing my own belief coming into light. I'm like, okay, wow, that have to be transformed. But the beautiful thing is, every time that you face something, that you put light on it, it dissolves by itself. So it's really the courage to face it and stay there, not to try to get away from it, just stay and just face it. And that really start. So my biggest change in business didn't come from how hard I worked. It's how much of my limited beliefs I was able to kind of transform.
mm. I think it's a very powerful distinction. One, being able to recognize that you can change beliefs. And for a lot of people, they're almost like walking robots and the code is their beliefs. And they don't realize that there is the ability to change those beliefs or challenge those beliefs. And when I'm working with some of my clients and I detect that they have a meta belief, so a belief about beliefs that they can't change, then I'll say to them, well, do you still believe in Santa Claus? Do you still believe in tooth fairies? And then they realize that actually, well, yeah, you can change beliefs. And that just because you feel something intently doesn't necessarily mean that the belief behind it is real. You know, so they have to accept that beliefs can change. And fears tend to be, you know, evidence that what you believe is real. Whereas you're right, quite often it's a mirage, and it's just it's a reflection of the perception rather than the reality. And I love that phrase there that, you know, when you shine a light on it, when the candle gets closer, it disappears. Because I do workshops on fear and anxiety, and I use a very similar metaphor. I say, you know, fear is like the shadows and action is the light. And the shadows can't exist when you actually take action towards that. You know, they disappear very, very quickly. What was the biggest fear that you had to face in order to evolve?
My realizing that my mindset is based so much on lack or not having or
Mm,
fear, that my sense of security come from money, right? Not sense of security. I'm a human being. I can create. I have unlimited opportunities. There's so much in me that I can work with, create, express. That is a beautiful mindset. I came from a mindset that I'm not enough. My value depended on how much money I have. I think that if I have a lot of money, it's not fair because, you know, as a child, looking at the rest of my family and parents, you know, we kind of survive or justify our existence when we need to fight for something,
mm,
right? If it comes easy, it's not right. Something here doesn't make sense. And I need to work hard to make things happen, right?
mm,
So start seeing that this is really how I value myself or how I value people around me. It's like, okay, that was a very hard one to get really to this, to the depth of it. And when you start shifting and you start valuing yourself as just human being, like, okay, who am I? Who I want to be, not what I want to
mm.
have, not how I supposed to fit in, now how I supposed to make everybody around me happy, right? I'm just great just by being, right? I have a voice, finding my own voice. Even now, when I'm going through the journey of writing the books and sitting here and talking to you, is the question I'm always asking myself, like, how authentic I'm being, like how real, who is really talking? It's Idan that want to get a validation from everybody else. So this is me that I'm just feeling comfortable being me, loving myself, feeling comfortable with who I am. And I'm out in the world creating and doing and manifesting. So that shift created the biggest difference in my life. My businesses, I mean, the growth that we're experiencing in almost everything that I do, my relationship with my kids, with my wife, with my family, my team, right? So it's my focus shifted from I need to make X amount of money to I need to find who I am. I need to have meaningful relationship. I need to make sure that I'm adding value. I want to put myself in this place of flow and creativity. And then the success comes. And I know, you know, the crazy part that I used to hear it from other people many years ago. And they're like, Idan, just find out who you are. Just become, and money is gonna come. And I'm like, okay, here's another of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
this mumbo jumbo thing that everything is gonna come. And I'm sitting here today, like it's absolutely true. This is how it works. When you're trying so hard to fit in, to this is look, money is great. Money is a great tool. I see it as energy. It's giving me an opportunity to create more, to connect more, to give more, to impact more. But it's a tool. I'm not working for that. I'm working to, you know, to create a great team, meaningful relationship, really adding value, having an impact, creating something that help people live a better life When this is the focus, everything else falls into place. This is
Yeah,
just
I,
beautiful
I
how.
I really agree with that. I think, it's a natural tendency if you grow up with not a lot of financial resources that you see other people, other things, with nice cars, big houses, and that is very alluring, is very desirable because it fits the thing that wasn't there. That scarcity before is kind of there.
Yeah.
And in hypnosis, there's a principle called the law of reversed effect, which basically means that the more you try and do something, the harder it becomes to obtain.
Yeah.
And I see this pattern a lot. And for me, it seems like I've gone on entirely different industries, but we've gone on similar journeys in the sense that I remember setting goals at the age of 21, sports cars, you know, big houses, money in the bank, all this kind of expensive watches. And the thing is, when that was the primary focus, it comes from a place of taking. You're extracting the value. But when you shift that focus to, how can I add value? How can I give value? How can I, a big distinction for me was my relationship with my employees, because I used to have the mentality of they work for me, therefore they have to do, certain results. When I started looking at my employees, how I look at my coaching clients, and it's kind of like, well, if something isn't working, what can I do to help them perform better? Well, then suddenly the dynamic changed, and then the value was created more, and then all these kind of ripple effect. And it's effectively, for me, when I was chasing money, I had less of it, and now when I'm trying to do good things, the money is a side effect. And then I focus less on money now than I did before, and yet I have more of it. And it feels frustrating. It feels like there's some kind of universe game that's being played that you have to learn it. And you're right. It doesn't matter if someone tells it. There'll be someone right now listening to this conversation saying, yeah, right. I'm going to set a goal of making £1 million dollars this year.
Yeah.
And then 5 years from now, they'll be like, actually, when I stopped chasing the money came. So it's a really weird
Yeah.
distinction, but absolutely true, at least in my experience. What if someone was interested? You've got two books. Get Out of the Truck, which sounds like lessons you learned from business, and then a book on mindset, which is more about that journey of evolution where you worked on yourself. Taking those principles.
Yes.
What would
Yes.
you say is to a business owner? Should they read Get Out of the Truck first, or is that very contextual to, let's say, the home improvement, the kind of the home services kind of industry, or is it fairly universal?
So I think it's fairly universal. Now I wrote it. Again, we talked about earlier, right? I never thought I had the fear of writing a book, like who I am to write a book, and I just started playing with it, and now I have two books out, right? And all the videos. So the language is for people in the home service industry. Now, people that read the book from the home service industry recommended the book to people just to start a business, right? The idea behind the book is really to get the small business owner to start looking at the business as a system, right? When we start our own business, we do everything, right? We are the secretaries, we are the salespeople, we are the marketing, we're collecting, we're following up, we're doing everything. Where I see the big difference, what I see when people going on the growth, we're doing it the right way, when they can actually get out of the truck, right? Start working on the business, is understanding the business is a system. There is a processes in the business, right? So there's the marketing department. Even though you do everything, there's still a marketing department. You just playing the role of the marketing. There
Mm.
is sales, there is operation, there is the accounting side of the business. And if you want to be able to keep scaling, growing the business, you need to understand that you're not making money by chance. There is actually things happening in the business. So you're meeting enough people and you convert them into customers, you sell the job for a certain amount, and this is how much profit you're supposed to make. Even though you do everything, but this is what happens in the business.
Hmm.
Now, the second part is, as a business owner, you need to understand strengths and weaknesses, right? I spent so many years trying to improve on my weaknesses, right? So instead of doubling down on my strength and find people to help me and build a team around my weaknesses and give them the space to help me and grow the business with me, I try to get better and spend so many years in getting better in what I'm not supposed to get better at,
Hmm.
right? So As a business owner, if you understand that your strength is marketing and sales, and you start seeing your business as a system, and you're saying, okay, if I'm going to be able to bring 5 more clients every month, I'm going to be able to bring somebody to help me with the day-to-day of the business, with the operation side of the business. And that way, I'm going to shift my focus to my strength, and I'm going to bring somebody else to bring me with the operation side of the business, right? And on and on and on. And this, but it needs to, you have to step kind of back a little bit from the business and start seeing it as a system, seeing your strengths and weaknesses, understand the flow of customer coming in, how we go through the business, how much profit you're supposed to make, and what is the customer experience that you are creating in your business. This is so important. This is where the culture comes and everything else, right? So this is the first book, is really taking them through that journey. The second book is, as we discussed earlier, it's not about how hard you work on the external world. You have to evolve as a business owner. If you're not going to evolve, your business is not going to evolve, period, right? Unless you're going to bring somebody else to run your business and he's going to do it for you. But if you're still the CEO, the owner of the business, if you're not evolving, your business is going to get stuck. So the second book is really, look, I understand work, in our, especially here in the US, you hear a lot, you need to work hard, you need to work hard, you need to work hard. But working hard doing what? Right? So I know a lot of people that working very, very hard, and I was in that boat myself, and we didn't really move anywhere. We didn't really get bigger in any way. So I'm always suggesting work hard on yourself, because you're evolving and you understand what really is important, and you understand who you are as a person and where you find fulfillment, and then bring that into the company. So that's going to become the culture. That's really the value, the uniqueness of the business that you're building. And then your business is going to take off, right? So work hard on yourself. As you evolve, that immediately will impact the business, because I think the business is only an extension of you, right? The business is, think about it. I mean, we creating our business based on our thoughts and beliefs and ideas and how we view the world, right? So if you view the world is a way to take and only make money, your culture will be that. But if you believe that you're here as a person, you want to share your story, your wealth as who you are as a human being, and bring that uniqueness into the business, now you have a great business, very unique, and it takes so much less energy when you're just being you.
It's true. It is true. And I think, again, it's a very important distinction that when you focus on the evolution of yourself as a business owner, then it's second nature for the business to also evolve, because you can't, have a different perspective. You can't be more creative, be more organized, delegate more efficiently, and that not have an impact on the business. It's a cause and effect relationship. If someone wanted to, let's say, get a couple of insights from your latest book on mindset, obviously they should go out probably on Amazon, find the book. We'll make sure there's a link for them to do that. But can you give it a couple of tips that they can immediately apply in their life so that they experience some of the benefits that you've experienced?
No, absolutely. Yes. So number one, and this is where the process I think starts, is instead of thinking of what you want to have, think of who you want to become, right? Who is the person that I want to become? I want to be a loving person. I want to be a giving person. I want to be a person that solves problems. I want to be a great speaker. Who you want to become, because the person that you want to become will have everything that you want to have, right? The only reason that you're not having what you want to have, because you're not that person yet. So instead of chasing what you want to have, chase who you want to become. So once you figure out, say, for example, I want to become a person, I want to set up my value and ability to learn, right? And share what I learned, right? I want to be able to tell great stories. I want to be a person that communicates well and can get to people and help them go through the evolution themselves. So if now I know that this is who I want to become, now how can I start nurturing myself to get closer to who I want to become? So if I want to be a great speaker, start listening and reading everything that you can about great speakers, about how to tell a story, about how to communicate, how to relate to people, right? So you start now shifting your focus from I want to buy a car to I want to become a person of value. And this is the areas that I want to play in. And now I'm going to start nurturing. I believe in myself. So I'm going to start investing in myself so I can become that person. The second part is everything can you once you understand that you can change everything and you actually have the power to create your day, we need to start making small changes, right? We need to help you in your unconscious mind to start saying, okay, I can start making changes. So what I see very often is people trying to make a huge change very, very fast, right? So I want to lose 100 pounds in 30 days, or I want to be able to read 2 books a month from not reading any books by this month. Usually people are overstretching themselves. So they're trying too much over a short period of time, and 98% of the people fail. But they're underestimating what they're going to be able to do a year from today, or 2 years, or 3 years from today, right? So start implementing small changes. I mean, I tell people, I mean, if you used to put your right shoes first, put your left shoes first. If you brush your teeth with your right hand, start doing it with your left hand. Taking shower. I mean, start changing small things in your life. And every time that you are making that change, celebrate. Say a few good things to yourself, right? The most important conversation that we have is a conversation that we have with ourselves.
Yeah,
So if you are,
inner dialogue is so important, isn't it? And I think having that ability, because particularly for business owners, there is this desire to constantly achieve and accomplish. And you're right, most business owners have this kind of idea of what's next, right?
yeah,
I have this, I've accomplished this, and then a new goal. And quite often we don't take the time to think of, celebrating our successes and being grateful for all those things that we've already accumulated. And weirdly, again, it's that law of reversed effect. Sometimes when you're constantly chasing, things become more elusive. But if you actually are grateful and appreciative and celebrate your victories, then actually those things that were more elusive before seem
yeah,
to just gravitate towards you, because you're in that state of noticing the opportunities and being willing to take the opportunities rather than everything being hard work. And it is a tricky belief system, because I think a lot of business owners have got a very good work ethic. And I think many of us, like you, witness things that say, well, if it comes too easy, you don't deserve it. You've got to work hard,
yeah,
otherwise you don't really deserve the success. And the thing is, sometimes people don't appreciate that all of the years where things weren't really going to plan, that's also hard work. That's also hard work, and it not making all the success. So if you work on yourself and really learn those things, and then you get the success, well, that might be half an hour a day, a week worth of work to get a huge success, but that also represents the years that it took to get to that point where you can
yeah.
deliver that. So it's a really, people I think if they really took the time to appreciate everything that they've done up to that point rather than what they're working on right now, then
Oh,
that feeling of deserving it is gonna feel a bit more easy to do.
I think that's a huge one. That's a huge one. Learning to appreciate what you have, learning to appreciate the journey, understanding that we can have fun. There's joy we can find joy. We can create our own joy, right? Is understanding. If people start paying attention to what's the difference between a good day to a bad day,
Hmm.
right? And understanding that overall, the day, what actually happened is almost the same. It's just the way we feel that day, right? So we have days that I can sit in traffic for an hour and I hate the world and I want to curse everybody else.
Yeah.
And I have days that I'm sitting in traffic and I'm like, oh, this is great. I have an opportunity now to listen to a podcast. I can put something on YouTube. I can now use it and learn something. What's the difference between the 2 days? Is the way we start the day, right? So if I put myself in a great mindset in the beginning of the day, right? If I practice appreciation, if I making small changes in my life, if I have a good talk to myself, right? You just need to put yourself in that mindset. Suddenly the day is great. Suddenly, instead of seeing problem all day, you see opportunities. And when we are in a good mindset, we tend to take action on that opportunities, on those opportunities, right? So even if just people start paying attention to, okay, why this is so negative, and why when it happened a week ago, it was very positive. It was actually what happened, or it's how I felt about what just happened, right? Just the awareness of it, and saying, okay, if I'm more effective if the chances for me to find and act on more opportunities when I'm in a great mindset, I don't want to chance it if I'm in a great mindset or not, right? So I will determine my own mindset, not the world, right? So it's not about if I'm sitting in traffic that's going to put me in a good or bad mindset. It's me waking up in the morning and says, okay, I understand that if I put myself in the right mindset, I'm going to have more opportunities. I'm going to take more actions. I'm going to be more open and supportive to my team. And I know that that's going to help me to reach the success that I want to reach, whatever the success is. So suddenly it's become super important to make sure that I'm in the right mindset.
Becomes a priority. And I know, people like Tony Robbins, big advocates of priming and kind of starting
Yeah.
the day in a particular way. And you've got guys like, Jocko Willink, start the day disciplined, get things done. But it's the same thing. It's about starting the day as you mean to go on. It's about having that sense of discipline or intent that the world is going to be how you determine it to be, because there are too many examples of people that take really awful experiences and that makes them more determined, more resolved. And yet there's other people that all it takes for them to have a bad day is that they're slightly late for work, or the weather isn't how they would want it to be, so it's definitely not those things. It's what you make of those things. If someone wanted to learn more about you or get hold of your book, what's the best way that they can connect or discover more about you?
So I created a website that's called getoutofthetrack.life. And there is a purpose, that life, because my approach to everything is more a holistic approach, right? I want to make sure that as a person, you're doing good, not necessarily just the financial success. So it's getoutofthetrack.life. And there you have access to our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Facebook. We just put up 28 new videos. So that's the best way to
Yeah.
get it.
And from there, you're going to find links to the book and the videos and literally
Everything.
everything. And
Yes.
Idan, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. It's been a real pleasure and privilege to have you as a guest. And I've certainly learned a few things as well. So thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Thank you.
No worries. And to you at home, thanks for joining me on Modern Mindset. See you again soon for more.